94.3 The Shark, everything that rocks. It's Orlando with a very special guest. We have seen you for years announcing WWE matches, and Matt Stryker is back with a... Is this a brand new endeavor that you're in? Like, what's going on with this Lucha Underground?
Lucha Underground's been on now. We're going into our third season. It starts September 7th, 8 p.m. on the El Rey Network. And Verizon just added the El Rey Network, so it's important to say that. It's taken the world by storm. It is in the vein of wrestling, but it's really not a wrestling show. It's a television show. It's Emmy-worthy. There are actors, actresses, characters, athletes, all kinds of really cool things. So I guess my antagonistic personality lends itself to a character of a wrestling announcer that I'm playing on the show.
Is it a reality-based show, or is it like a sitcom or a drama based on the wrestling world?
It has every single element. It has supernatural elements. There's comedy, there's drama, there's violence, and there's also this... And again, I think people like television shows that reflect their daily lives. We have a lot of gender equality, a lot of LGBTQ characters that are empowered and things like that. And it reflects what's going on in society today, as opposed to some other things that some people might feel would insult their intelligence.
So this sort of harkens back to the days of Lucha Libre in the 60s, when you had guys like Dos Santos and Mil Mascaras, who weren't just wrestling stars, they were movie stars. Didn't they all star in these giant major budget pictures?
One of the great appeals, yes, is that those stars that you mentioned were able to cross over into mainstream, and the masks and the colors and the emotional connection really captured a lot of the kids in Mexico, and that age group has now grown up, and they are now the captains of industry. And they're the ones that are running the world, so it's almost like a full circle kind of thing, where what you loved as a child, you can still love as an adult because it's evolved as you have.
Talking to Matt Stryker on 94.3 The Shark, everything that rocks. Lucha Underground is Matt's show. Now, where is the show filmed before I ask the next question?
Boyle Heights, Los Angeles, California. Nicest place you ever want to be.
So the fact that it's filmed West Coast, a lot of Spanish, a lot of Latin.
Yes.
Okay. Which is what Lucha Libre is. Basically Mexican wrestling, right?
The goal was, though, is to bridge the gap, to show that it can transcend, because independent, and this is a reflection of today's society, independent of your color, your race, your gender, your creed, your sexual orientation, we all kind of have happy is happy, sad is sad.
Sure.
So it's able to really break all those barriers, and it's not just Mexican Lucha Libre anymore. It's an international show that people can get involved with.
As all of this stuff is happening in America and all of these negative headlines for all kinds of things.
I only watch Fox News. It's only positive stuff.
But between everything going on with the presidency and all the social injustices and both sides of that coin, do you find the show evolving from script to script? Like, do they incorporate some of these elements?
I think it's hard not to, but I don't think it's a cognitive thing like, hey, we're going to go ahead and have a character that deletes all of her emails and then lies about it, things like that. But I just think that with this, you bring up the political climate, indifference is a terrible thing, but the media forces apathy and indifference on us, because after a while, all right, we get it. She lies and he says offensive things. We get it. And it's like they just come up with, they create stories to put on the news, whereas with Lucha Underground, the stories almost evolve on their own. So I don't know how much cross-pollination there is with politics and Lucha Libre.
Well, the death of news was the 24-hour news services, when they had to find things to talk about and consider news.
Yeah. And let me ask you, is this the chair Tommy Dreamer sits in?
Yes.
It is, dude. It's like that episode of King of Queens where, like, Carrie sleeps on Doug's side. Like, all the springs are completely mashed down on this. That is awesome.
Once a week, Tommy Dreamer comes in and he destroys my chair.
Yes, and he destroys the sports world, too.
We're talking to Matt Stryker on 94.3 The Shark, everything that rocks. Well, as a wrestling fan, I'm kind of fed up and indifferent to the WWE. I've had enough of pretty much the same thing now. That's why I'm really looking forward to Tommy's show. But does Lucha Underground provide an alternative to what I'm tired of?
Absolutely, because, and obviously the natural progression would be, oh, it's wrestling? Well, let me compare it to what I know as wrestling. But I always say it's apples and oranges, because this isn't a wrestling show. It's a television show where instead of people settling their differences, fighting. They fight in the ring to settle their differences as opposed to talking out their problems. So, that's really the only similarity to WWE or some of these other places. After that, that's where it ends.
Sure.
Because, and no offense, I worked for WWE. I understand what that animal
10
is
years,
about.
right?
I was there for 8 years, 8.5 years. But if you ever watch the athletes try to be actors, it's uncomfortable to watch. And you ever watch some of the actors try to be athletes? It's even more uncomfortable to watch. On Lucha Underground, the actors are actors and the athletes are athletes. And again, no insulting of the intelligence.
Sure.
No forced conflicts. Hey, man, you're wearing an Islanders hat. I'm a Ranger fan. Let's settle it in the ring, brother. And then Dan Girardi just throws the puck into the middle of the ice for some reason.
You mentioned before about the apathy and how everything got so serious. We were actually talking off mic about that. Years ago, when WWE would do these vignettes like Fuji Vice.
Yeah, those are great.
I mean, because you knew it was supposed to be a parody. It was supposed to. When did wrestling get so serious? You were there for 8 years. Did you notice a transition of when all the humor got erased?
Yeah, there was a point in the mid 80s where Vince McMahon, the boss of WWF at the time, came out and basically told the world that what the guys are doing in there isn't entirely 100% authentic. This was him saying this, not me.
Right.
And everyone said, oh, okay, we already kind of knew that, but all right, we get it. And then at some point, they tried desperately to convince everyone that it was again. Now, there's a term in wrestling called marks. It's an old carnival term. The mark is the fan or the person that you're going to try to fool in the carny world. But it's almost reversed now that the wrestlers are the quote-unquote marks because they're still trying to convince the fan that what they're doing is real. And I use this as an example all the time. There's a wrestler named The Big Show, 7'4", 500 pounds. There's a wrestler named Kalisto, 5'3", maybe 170 pounds. How come when Big Show punches Kalisto in the face, Kalisto doesn't die? Like, mommy, how come this man can do that? So there came this struggle to try to reestablish themselves as authentic when you just have to, take things for what they are and appreciate them for what they are. I mean, you ever have a relationship where someone tries to change you or you try to change them? It's not going to work. Be yourself.
No, and that is my biggest problem with wrestling now.
I think you say relationships.
Vince McMahon owns everything, and there's no alternative anymore. And that's the thing, I didn't know about shows like Lucha Underground. So being a part of this TV show now, what is the game plan for getting this out there besides obviously coming on the Shark and talking about it?
Yeah, well, that's the whole entire rollout is to come here and talk to you and Rush and everybody. But we are on iTunes right now, so you can download full seasons. You can get caught up. And like I said, September 7th starts the third season. There are some
on FX.
It'll be on the El Rey Network.
El Rey Network,
and you can also see episodes on YouTube and steal it from Dailymotion, but you didn't hear that from me. But there are talks that I don't know how much liberty I have to say with some major streaming companies that are looking to purchase and help grow Lucha Underground because it is the alternative now. There are plenty of people out there like you who say, yeah, I used to watch WWF when I was a kid and the Honky Tonk Man and George the Animal Steel, but it's not for me anymore. If you're in that realm, come check out Lucha Underground because it will remind you of why you loved wrestling in the first place, but it'll also remind you that you're an adult and we're not going to insult your intelligence.
Was there any trepidation by you to transform from Matt Stryker, the WWE villain or announcer, to an actual actor in the show?
No, I always feel I'm a faith guy. I just think the wind blows and opportunities come and you have to take them or not. I saw this opportunity. It gave me a chance. I acted when I was young. I was in movies and commercials. And I have 4 sisters, so I enjoy being antagonistic. I love riling people up. It's just so damn easy. So it was a total fit. There was really no guidelines. They said, listen, just go out there, be a tad obnoxious, but be informative. I said, okay, I can do that.
How many different wrestling characters are on the show that come from a wrestling background like you?
Quite a few, actually. And that's where, as far as the athleticism goes, you'll really appreciate what these guys are doing because a lot of them have been doing it for a very long time at a very high level. And they're doing things that you haven't seen before. I know everyone will always compare it to WWE. I don't like to do that. But in this instance, if you've watched 1 or 2 WWE shows, you've kind of seen every move.
Right.
And you kind of know that the match isn't going to end till this guy hits that move. It's almost like, On Lucha Underground, that's not the case. I mean, there are moves that you turn to your friend and go, dude, if I did that to you, that would hurt. or wow, I didn't think he was going to beat her that way, or something like that. And we have intergender wrestling, we have things like that. I mean, defeat, not beat, before the social media giants come at me. So yeah, there's that.
We're talking to Matt Stryker on 94.3 The Shark, Everything That Rocks. Going into the third season of Lucha Underground, which to me is an exciting concept. Do you feel that something like this might be the future of wrestling as far as ways to combat Vince McMahon and the WWE empire?
If someone wants to compete with Vince, God bless them. I don't think that's Lucha Underground's intention. I think their intention is to carve their entire own niche and be their own thing.
Which was ECW, essentially.
Correct. I mean, but now people say that was ECW, but if you're a true wrestling historian, you'll know that there wasn't any ECW if there wasn't Florida Championship Wrestling in the early 80s. So everything always has inspiration, you know? I mean, even in music and sports and everything. So
Randy Savage, the first pile drove Ricky Morton through the table. Wasn't he the first to do it?
Those two guys wrestled in separate companies. But in Florida,
Randy Savage pile drove somebody. No, this was long before WWE and NWA.
Sure.
I thought it was the Rock and Roll Express. Randy Savage pile drove, and this was...
I don't know about that, Brian. I gotta tell you, I'm freaking out right now. You're talking about Ricky Morton. Yeah.
Listen, I'm a huge Rock and Roll Express fan.
Nice,
but I'm pretty sure this was before the NWA days.
I don't know, maybe one of your callers can call in and let us know.
Poffo, Savage's father, didn't he run a rogue wrestling federation in Memphis to
they
compete against Jerry Lawler?
They were in that area, and they did have some back and forth. But the pile driving Ricky Morton isn't. I mean, again, my brain is clogged with barley, hops, and resin, so I can't really remember a lot.
I want to know who the first pile driver guy through a table was now. Have you ever pile driven anybody through a table?
I have not pile driven anyone. I have been pile drove.
Through a table?
Yes.
How do you sick, crazy bastards wake up in the morning and be like, you know what? This is going to be a great day. I'm going through that table.
Well, here's the thing. And I was born and raised in Bayside, Queens. I live now in Long Beach. I've always been a New York kind of guy. And if you go out in New York, people kind of feel that you're aggressive or offensive just in the way we talk. So I've never been the kind of guy that said, all right, we're going to do this, this, and this. I was always taught to, all right, if this happens, it happens. If you have the opportunity to do this to me and I let you, go right ahead. So it's not I'm going to wake up in the morning and go, you know what? I think I'm going to go crashing through a table today. You know, that's not how my mind works. If I get put through it, so be it.
What is your goals now with this Lucha Underground show? Do you just want to continue your character as is? Do you have ideas, creative control over what you do with the character?
I do have some freedom for the things that fly out of my mouth. I also do get to do some of the edits, so I can censor myself, which is always good.
That's a great thing.
But as far as intentions and things like that, I mean, there's an old saying my grandmother used to say in Italian, if you want to hear God laugh, tell him your plans. I mean, this thing is just going on its own. It's organic. And I think that's, especially now, with the world is so small with social media now, that things that are organic, things that are real, things that people can truly attach themselves to, that'll survive. Fads go away, you know? So I just think that Lucha Underground will continue to provide great entertainment and an alternative and good quality television, because that's missing today.
What was your first reaction to it when someone approached you with the concept?
I got a phone call on a Thursday night, asked me if I could be in LA Friday morning. I said, yeah, sure. And again, I'm one of those guys that, let's see where this goes. You know, I don't poo-poo anything anymore, because you never know. You just never know. Look, when, what was it? Tony La Russa first threw Dennis Eckersley out there as a closer, people were like, what are you doing? Yeah. What is this? And now all we have are guys that can pitch 2 innings and their arm falls off. So, come on. How about that for a segue?
Oh, God, nah. Being a Mets fan.
Yeah, hi, I'm Noah Syndergaard. I'm so good. Oh, my arm fell off. Hi, I'm Steven Matz. I'm from out here. Oh, my arm fell off.
Like, and that was my biggest argument with Mets. I'm a huge Mets fan, but
sorry.
Don't tell me that these guys who haven't pitched more than one season are going to come into this year and just be amazing. Things are going to happen. Pitchers get figured out.
100%. And if you remember, do you remember the Mets had a crop of starters? What was it? Bill Pulsifer, Paul Wilson,
Generation K.
Okay, and they all missed the boat. So I know you're a Met fan. I think it has a lot to do with the organization from the top down. I think they make poor baseball decisions. I don't think that. Honestly, I think he should just absolve the team and bring back the Montreal Expos.
Which is why
not absolve.
You got to keep it in Queens, man. I grew up at Shea Stadium.
Nice, me too.
Look, you have a situation where Mets fans will say, well, if so-and-so was any good, he'd be up with the Mets already. No, the Mets don't make the right moves.
Not at all. Not at all.
Like, if the Mets told me a guy was crappy, I'd sign him to the Yankees.
Well, I mean, look at the Jay Bruce thing. I mean, that's seriously, you know what that is? That's seeing your ex-girlfriend out with someone else and then saying to some girl, quick, hold my hand and walk with me and laugh.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just little things like that. I just think that, and if you look across town at what the Yankees did when they sold, when they sold Miller and Chapman, everyone was like, oh, no. And now they got a crop back. I mean, honestly, I was flipping between the games yesterday. I would just rather watch Yankee baseball than watch Met baseball. That and the fact that I think I might be taller than Terry Collins makes me very happy.
Yeah, it's tough. And that's the other thing. I grew up, I'm 38 years old now, always being told I could never be a wrestler. And I wasn't. I became a DJ instead. But now it seems like that barrier has finally been broken, and guys like you have been in there breaking those barriers.
Well, long before guys like me, and we had guys like Dynamite Kid and Tiger Mask and all those guys. So, again, we live in a world where all of those stereotypes are kind of being shattered. Oh, you're this, you can't do that. Mm-hmm. And people are saying, what do you mean? Just because you say I'm this doesn't mean I am that. Screw you, I'm going to do it. But I will say that when it comes to images or optics of fighting, if someone looked at Tommy Dreamer and then someone looked at me and they had to bet $100 as to who was going to win, chances are they're going to throw their 100 down on a guy like Tommy. Yeah. You know, 6'2", 280. He might get mad at me.
20 pounds. I just don't know down from what.
Yeah,
so.
Well, we'll find out. House of Hardcore is coming to Long Island actually on the 16th. So we'll see what kind of shape the Dream is in. But
I'm going to be ring announcing that show.
You're ring announcing?
Yeah.
Can I hear your best Howard Finkel?
Ladies and gentlemen, coming to this match is scheduled for one fall. In this corner, introducing from Yonkers, New York, former ECW heavyweight champion, Tommy Dreamer. All right.
That's called radio silence that I'm doing. See what I'm doing there?
Come on, man.
I don't know, man. I
got a couple of weeks for this.
Nah, I think you'll be fine. And the fans will know you, and it'll be great.
As far as approach goes, do I try to go old school, or like today with like a Lillian Garcia, they have more of a speaking voice when they do it, right?
Well, I mean, back to Lucha Underground, you don't try to do anything. You're good at what you do, otherwise you wouldn't be on the air for as long as you've been on the air. It's very transparent when you can see someone trying, even in social situations. You just go out to a bar or a party and say, oh man, that guy's trying so hard. Oh, look at that girl. And you don't like it. So be yourself and you'll be fine. Just cover your face.
Yeah, exactly. I'm no way near as hot as Lillian Garcia. She in her late 40s, still smoking.
No comment.
Before we wrap this up, I just want to talk to Matt Stryker one more time about Lucha Underground, where we can find it, where we can find the first two seasons, and what's going on with it now.
Well, first two seasons are available on iTunes in their entirety, as well as, like I said, YouTube and Daily Motion on the Sliz Eye. And the El Rey Network, which I do know Verizon carries. I don't know if Cablevision carries it, although Cablevision does carry News 12. And
can't be bashing News 12 right now.
No, who's the? I love that one lady on it, Erin something.
Erin Colton.
She's a very attractive young lady.
Yes, she is.
Anyway, and a great reporter and very talented as well, because we don't want to be misogynistic. But back to what we were saying. September 7th, 8 p.m. Wednesday on the El Rey Network, and I think it's elreynetwork.com or Lucha Underground on Twitter. I mean, it's easy to find. Just type it in Lucha Underground and go into your little YouTube hole and enjoy yourselves.
News 12 has been helping me clean Lake Ronkonkoma for the last couple of weeks, so they've been phenomenal with the coverage. But that being said, with my own shameless plug, this is Matt Stryker, face of the WWE for years. Now he's doing the Lucha Underground, which I think is an amazing concept, and finally we have some sort of alternative.
Absolutely. And I do have to send some love to my buddy Vampiro, who is my broadcast partner. He is so unique and truly a one-off, so check out Lucha Underground, Google it, Google Vampiro, and just have some fun.
Cool. It's Matt Stryker on the Shark.